Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
And so, with that, man, I think we've had a good conversation today, man. What do you think?
I'm just interesting to see what's going to happen now with Iran and what's going to happen because vessels are being turned back now, and they're losing money, obviously. And I think that you're going to see that. I think within the next 30 days, because we're approaching that timeline now, things are going to start winding down. And I think just the fact that, and you've touched on this before, Len, that the decentralized leadership was going to be their strength, or was going to be the roadblock. I think that's what's slowing the peace process down, is because now you have factions. The only dangerous thing I think about the factions is that you could end up creating civil wars internally. And then but maybe, who knows, maybe that's a good thing that Iran has a civil war. Maybe that is, because realistically, when you have a civil war, whoever wins, that like settles the score outright, right? I mean, if in a civil war, whoever wins, that's the person in charge now, right? I mean, that's the way the rules of the game work, right? I mean
the strongest win, but ultimately,
if the South had won, this would be a different country.
Yeah,
right? Actually, you know what? If the South would have won, World War I might have been won by the Germans. I mean, who knows? You don't know what could have happened. So, maybe Iran needs to go through a civil war. I don't know. I'm not a historian, but what's the price of oil here at this point? Because I'm sick and tired of paying for gas that's expensive. I really, really, really am, Len.
When you look at, as you looked that up, the way I look at the situation as it stands today, which could change,
tomorrow,
right?
Tomorrow, it could change tomorrow.
Exactly. Which is, I believe that that Iran understands that it has a stronghold in the Strait of Hormuz, and that is a very, very powerful point of leverage. And I believe that they're not going to give that up, because it creates an opportunity for them to gain more power. And the reason why that is so is because of the fact that 20%, as we've talked about before, of the oil goes through that strait, which other countries depend upon. And so even though the United States is open for business, the United States it's so far removed from every other place relative to the other sources of oil that their cost of oil would go up significantly higher. And considering the fact that the United States and Israel were the ones who essentially exacerbated this situation, maybe they didn't create it, but had the United States and Israel not acted the way they did, then oil prices would be stable and there wouldn't be this energy crisis that's looming. And so what I believe is that Iran understands that the longer this strait stays closed, because the United States struck first, that other countries will begin to look at the United States and say, look, we've appreciated our relationship throughout history, but right now our people are taking Molotov cocktails in the streets, and they're blowing everything up, and they're protesting like crazy. Their lights are off. They can't drive. They can't go to work. And if the ventilators turn off in some of the developing countries, now you're going to have more blood on our hands because more kids are dying. And so Iran, understanding that by just saying, okay, let's war game this out, the longer this goes on, the more pressure is being exerted on the United States from afar, because there could be humanitarian crises that begin to erupt. And so Iran has no incentive to open up the strait. And I think they're quietly kind of happy that the United States decided to continue this blockade, because now they're not allowing ships out to go and service those other countries. So it's kind of working out for them, because now people are looking at the United States and saying, you guys are the terrorists. You guys are the ones.
Can you
pressure?
Can you understand how insane that sounds for just a second? Can you just that's like
that sounds insane from their perspective.
Right. But I understand totally what you're saying, but at the same time, can you understand how insane that thought process is? Like, all of those people should be looking at how irresponsible their their government leadership is for essentially being held hostage by Iran. Like, I cannot even believe for a second that all of those countries, actually, you know what? Take it back. I can believe that all of those countries that are crying right now, that they don't have energy because of Iran right now. That's like me going, hey, where do you get your lemonade from? Oh, I get my lemonade from the drug dealer down the street. You buy your lemonade from the drug dealer? Yeah. Len, Len, come on. You know it's the same thing. You're buying energy from the person who wants to kill you, who is a terrorist. So I don't think any of these, what I think is going to happen and what I think most people are going to do, because they're going to wake up. And here's where I might think what you just said there, Len. I'd be a little bit afraid of that, because people tend to want to believe the easy thing. And that's easy to believe, right? Whoever's causing you pain right now, that's what you're going to believe. But I think that the jig is up. And what I mean by that is that so many of these European countries have been completely screwed over by their aristocratic kings and queen government that they don't want to let go of for so long, that they're finally going, wait a minute, these guys are just a bunch of freaking liars. And they're probably looking at this right now going, their immigration policies suck and our countries are getting ran over. And by the way, we're buying oil from the place that these people are fleeing from. That this makes no sense to me. That's like going out and picking fruit from an orchard that we know has poison in it. And it's a 50-50 chance that when we get that apple home, Len, that it might kill us or not. That's the obscenity. That's the craziness of the world. Why would you even for a second entertain even doing business with a country that has that one of your biggest allies has sanctions on?
Okay, so
how is that even possible? Like that would be me, like Len. That would be me going and having lunch with somebody that you have beef with.
Okay. Okay. Do you mean that literally or figuratively? Because I don't eat beef, but then the beef, that was a nice pun.
Like, it could be a couple of puns in there, but you know what I mean? Like imagine your enemy. Imagine an enemy that you have in the world today, and then I go, oh yeah, hey, by the way, Len, I had a great lunch with John.
Right. No,
and you go, oh, that's great, that's awesome. Like,
I would
great,
definitely have an issue with that. But what you're saying, Chris.
Okay, then how do we not have an issue with people buying oil from a terrorist country?
I think there's a tinge, and please don't take this the wrong way. I think there's a tinge of hypocrisy in what you are saying. And this is the reason why. Every day, Chris, we buy shoes and furniture and like components for electronics from a country who runs roughshod on their people. And we're talking about China. And so
I'm glad that you're talking about China in a different light today, by the way.
I'm just saying, I'm using that argument that against you, because I don't really know what China does to its people. But what I'm saying is, if what you're saying is true and we buy goods and services from China, it's no different than people buying goods and services for Iran. It doesn't come down to humanitarianism. I'm surprised I'm making this argument and not you. But anyway, it comes down to dollars and cents, Chris. If we can buy something for 3 pennies on the dollar versus 100 pennies on the dollar, we're going to spend the 3 pennies, and we're just going to turn our faces away from the sweatshops and the, suppressed currency and all of the other craziness that goes on. Because if I can get my gas for $1 a liter versus $4 a liter from America, I'm going to go to the place where I can get it for $1 a liter. Now, I don't want to know I don't want to know how the sausage is made. I just want to pay $1 at the gas station. And so we all, to a certain degree, live our lives like that. And so it's much easier for us to talk about oil because we have an overabundance of it. But if we had to go and purchase our oil from China or from Iran because they had all the oil, we would do it in a heartbeat because we want to drive our cars and we want to have our lifestyles. And so it's very easy for us because we can just go to Texas and Oklahoma and get our oil through fracking and go up to Alaska and have an overabundance of it, but other countries don't have that luxury. So I think we have to be careful about how we look at the actions of other people without necessarily looking at their specific circumstances that led them to those actions.
No, I agree with you. I see that, and I agree with you. But at the same time, we shouldn't feel bad for the fact that we have the natural abundances that we have. Like,
and you shouldn't feel bad for them buying oil from Iran.
Yeah, but I should when they're a terrorist and we're not doing business with them and we're not friends with them and they're saying death to us and we know there's an active tension and conflict amongst it. So, I mean,
but we're not buying oil from Iran. We're talking about Europeans.
That's what I'm talking about. Why have they not figured it out? I guess windmills and solar panels don't work for them.
But windmills.
Why haven't they been responsible? Why haven't they been responsible with figuring out energy solutions? You're telling me since 1978.
But oil is much more.
Okay.
Again,
let me ask you.
Sounded like you. Oil is a much more efficient energy source.
Right? No, I get that. But here's the thing. Okay, let me ask you this question, Len. Iran has been weird since 1978. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if you are a stable country, would you consider? I don't know who's complaining right now that they can't get their oil from Iran. What European country is it? Is it Denmark? Is it France? Is it UK? Who is it? I don't even know who it is.
I have no idea.
Well, let's assume you are one of those countries, right? Let's assume whatever they are. See, this is the best part about it is we're not pundits, so we really don't even, right? But let's say you're one of those countries, right, that's buying oil from Iran. And you're a responsible country because you're trying to be Western and you're just not saying that Western countries are more responsible than anybody else. I'm just simply saying that you're responsible. You're trying to make it nice for your citizens, right? And this country says a threat from day one. Would you still do business? You probably would still do business, but then at that point you would probably start rethinking your long-term business strategies and you'd probably start going, you know what, we probably ought to think of a backup plan over the next 10, 20 years just in case because they seem a little squirrely over there. You wouldn't do that? But
if France was doing business with Iran didn't say death to France. They said death to America.
I get that, but if America dies, France dies de facto. Because no one will be there. No one will be there when the Iranians invade France. Are you like if Iran? You know what? If Iran decided today in their battered state land to invade France, France would fall probably in 15 minutes.
No, that is not true, bro.
Yeah, they would.
France has a formidable army. They don't compare.
Len, look at their prime minister. Look at their prime minister.
They have seriously a military arsenal.
Okay, fine, Len. It would be 48 hours.
Okay, France.
It'd be okay, let's just say, for example, all right, France would fall because you want to know why? Because America wouldn't be there to save them.
No, you're underestimating your French partners, man.
Underestimating what? Great country, by the way.
2026, France is expanding its nuclear arsenal. It has a nuclear arsenal, upgrading its military hardware to strengthen European deterrence. Right now, they have a stockpile of 290 warheads, advancing the nuclear-armed Rafale. I know I'm battering that name, right. And planning a new nuclear-armed submarine. They already have nuclear weaponry.
You know why, though? You know why?
I know because NATO is being broken down, and
no, because Trump forced them to pay their bills.
But they've had military weaponry
only as of Trump. Okay, but there's a difference between having one and announcing to it that I'm going to expand it. If the shit hit the fan today, who's coming in to save everyone's butt?
Well, not America. That's
come on. Ooh, Australia? Who's coming in?
It's changing world dynamic, man. It's hard.
Okay. So let's say the axis of evil, the modern day axis of evil, you would probably put it as what? India, Russia, and China? Okay.
See, I don't look at it like that, man, but I understand what you're saying. And I'm
okay. Well, then who's the aggressors today? Who's the aggressors?
Who's the aggressors today?
You're going to say America. Right?
Answer that question, Chris.
Come on, Len. No, how?
Evidence say, I mean, let's just be objective, like seriously.
Okay.
On the world stage, if you look at the last 20 years, who has been some of the top aggressors, people that have taken military action on another country outside of its borders, not inside of its borders, outside of its borders?
Africa, Russia,
facts. Those are facts.
And various African nations on themselves, and then also,
but I'm saying outside of their borders, Chris.
Well, those are borders. I mean, they're just because, if you have one city or one state in Africa, okay,
those are all civil wars. There's no. I will tell you.
That's all civil war then. Okay, and then obviously America would be on that list, and then Absolutely. But again,
so when you talk about, look, this is all I'm saying is that from your perspective, because we're Americans, we look and justify our actions because we believe that we're operating out of our own self-interest. But
I wish we wouldn't. I wish we would, like, for example, I wish that we wouldn't be in any military conflicts. I'm not about it. I think it's ridiculous. But at the same time, I don't know if there are other ways to deal with those who put themselves in power militarily, like, for example, Maduro, right? So how do you deal with something like that? How do you not allow dictatorships to become cancers and then result in world wars? Because realistically, that's what happened with World War I. That's what happened with World War II, right? You had a nation that rose up. It's not like America is being aggressive to annex nations. I mean, America hasn't annexed land or has an attempted to do it. Russia has. Russia wants to annex Ukraine. They annexed Crimea. So those types of conflicts and military aggression certainly, I think, are different from the ones America does. America does military things because some people say regime shame, resource claim, whatever the case may be. But oftentimes America is forced to be brought into a lot of situations because someone's looking to be helped. Or at the same time, there are other people in there that are doing things that they ought not to do. Now, I'm not saying that America should be doing it because I am anti-war and anti all of this stuff. In fact, I think we should bring home everything. Bring it all back. But then at the same time, can we even operate in that type of world anymore?
No, I mean, that last question is definitely a valid one. But I would say if you look at the history of America's aggressive actions on other countries, it's typically for two reasons. One is because they have oil and we need it. And two, they have access to other places so we could strategically place military bases there. Those are the main two things. And so we use the idea of stability and of democracy and spreading democracies as justification. But those countries that we have acted aggressively towards, they didn't ask for that. Now, again,
Iran did. Iran asked for it.
No, they did not. No, they did not.
Man. How did they not?
Because one, we went and struck their nuclear facilities back in June, and they didn't do anything.
Because they violated the treaty. They didn't allow the UN inspectors in under Obama.
But they did, though. That's the thing. And in fact, Trump talked negatively about the whole deal in the first place. And so we could go back and forth on the validity of Trump's claim versus Obama's claim. But what we're talking about right now is the United States taking aggressive action outside of its borders on another sovereign country. And so when we look at those acts of aggression, we've got to really understand that not everybody looks at what we're doing from the same perspective and through the same lens. And I just think that we need to be careful about how much aggression we decide to move forward. Last point that I'll make is because your president, President Trump, ran the idea that he was going to be the president of peace.
Of peace.
And he hasn't been that. And so my only thing is that before we get into more aggression throughout the world, I think we need to calm it down before things heat up, because we're really on the precipice of World War III, in my opinion. And I hope it doesn't get to that point. But man, we're moving counter to the ways that we've moved in the past. And I think it's a dangerous move.
I think that there are a lot of things. I know it doesn't sound right, but I believe that this is going to end very fast again. But at the same time, I don't agree with any military action like this, just simply because it's never clean, and it always ends up being a freaking mess. It always ends up being a mess, no matter what. Yeah, and we're already starting to see that. And everyone's paying the price for it.
I agree. Literally, at the gas pumps every day, man, I feel like I'm being robbed at gunpoint. Well, gas out here is between $6 and $7, man. Some places even more.
I think you have a lot to do though with voting for Governor Newsom for that problem, though. I mean,
brother, California.
I mean, he's almost out though.
A long time.
It's been a problem for a long time. It's been an absolute problem for a long time. And it's not just Governor Newsom. It's the whole California legislature is just absolute trash. So regardless of who gets in there and becomes governor, every single person that is in there is going to have absolutely such a crazy challenge to do anything in there, because they're going to deal with a wacky legislator that's more wacky than Newsom is. But at any rate.
Interesting. And next week, what I want to talk about, man, is the whole thing with the Fed and Jerome Powell stepping down in May, and Kevin Marsh, maybe Kevin Warsh maybe stepping in, and his philosophy and things like that. So I'm looking forward.
I was going to bring that up today, but I figured we'd want to save that for a different conversation, because it's about to get pretty crazy in here, I think, with that kind of stuff switching around. So
it's going to be
I think that couldn't make Trump even, that's going to be the happiest day in Trump's life, because I think that you're going to see massive leniency on economic restrictions, and you're going to start to see the money flow. I think anyways, that's because it's the only way you can get out of this issue.
Okay. I think Kevin Warsh is walking into a no-win situation, man. And I'll tell you why next week, but I think he's headed towards a dumpster fire.
I wouldn't want that job. I would not want that job at all.
$1 million, a quarter, I would not take that job, bro.
Hey, you know what? That's a big no.
Yeah, that's a
Forget it.
Absolutely. That's a quick no, brother.
But to answer your question, Len, yes, we did have a great conversation, I think.
Definitely.
Absolutely. We always do.
Always, man. So, hey, listen, if you're watching this, make sure that you like and subscribe. And we also want to just promote the idea of always getting together with someone that you disagree with, so you can have healthy discourse, even if you disagree with each other. So with that, Chris, appreciate the time as always, man. It's always good talking to you.
Adios, Len.
All right, brother.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.